Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 410. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Mark, you're going to put a Sega character into Space Jam. Who is it and why is it not Sonic?
It's gonna be Axel. Crazy Taxi.
Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry, I thought you meant Axe from Golden Axe.
Oh yeah, just the axe.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Axel, and he's gonna be in his car the whole time.
Perfect. Matt, which Sega character joins the Space Jam roster under your tutelage?
Sonic, because of all the bad reviews this movie's getting from one. No one's more deserving.
I have a quote here from... I'll just read it to you. Ooh ya, doo dum, da da da. Do 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 do. Oh no no. Do 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 do. Oh no no. Do do do. Time keeps on slipping. We're gonna keep on slipping with another episode of the Free Cheese Podcast. There's a ton of news this week. It's like E3 happened all over again, except better, because we've got new shooters to talk about, the future of NetherRealm, QuakeCon coming at you again, and some knockoff Super Smash Brothers. All of that and so much more. But first, it's time to check in with our weekly recurring segment for the year, Game of the Year. And this week we're talking Fire Emblem Three Houses. This game came out on the Nintendo Switch. And I think... No, we did not all play it.
Nope.
But yeah, it came out on Switch in, was it 2018 or 2019?
2019.
19, yes. It, on our list, was number 2 of the top 5, falling short to Resident Evil 2, but beating out Control. Matt, you want to talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses from your perspective playing through it?
I did not get very far into this game. I've maybe played 2 hours max, which barely got me to a house, of which I don't even remember which house I chose. Yeah, it's, it is what it is. It's a Fire Emblem game. It's, grid-based, turn-based strategy. And it's got that, I don't know, it's not totally medieval, but kind of leans into that kind of genre. But like, I think the hook here, and Joe, I think you can get into this more, is the building of your team and growing that team and seeing them, I don't want to use grow again, but I guess grow up and aspire to become great warriors within your house to beat the shit out of the other houses. And I think that's the core hook RPG part of this that you really liked.
Yeah, the gameplay itself is, I think, exactly what Fire Emblem's always been. I think the change you had here is you had the option, because you could turn this stuff on or off, but you did have more like animated battles that would play out, so you could get a more cinematic experience as you played through the campaign. But yeah, the big part is like seeing how your team grew, building relationships with them, both in the game and I think yourself. Like you kind of grow fond of one over the other, and it makes the permadeath stuff that much more effective, where you're constantly, reloading saves or saying goodbye to somebody forever. And the big thing in this is that your main character is a teacher at this school. And there's a 5-year time gap. And then there was that like revelatory moment of the jump in 5 years. And you see how everyone's grown and how they've evolved, both literally in their combat skills and their class, but also just that one's got a haircut. That one grew their hair out, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought that this one blended really well what I'd want in a Fire Emblem game. Like it kind of is the best. I don't know. I still have a really soft spot for Awakening, but I think this one did a really great job at combining all elements of the best Fire Emblems and bringing them to life on Switch. So much so that like I played through. My first house was I don't remember the breakdown now, but it was the yellow ones. Were they the lions? It was the blue barracudas, the silver monkeys, the purple
Hufflepuffs?
parrots. What was it?
No, I don't know. I was just making a dumb joke.
No, I remember I don't know. Either way, I picked yellow the first time through, and then the second time through, I went with red because I wanted to see what Edelgard was all about. It's really good. It's a really good game. I'm excited to see if they're making another Fire Emblem and what that becomes. But I think it was also a really strong Switch game as well. I think it came out at a perfect time in the Switch's life cycle, like a couple years in. But yeah. Overall, one of my favorite games that year, and definitely one of our top 5. Where do we think it falls on our overall list of Game of the Year? Right now, our top to bottom is Tetris Effect, Doom, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Hitman, Splatoon 2, Celeste, and Super Mario Odyssey.
You are the sole person that has played every single one of these games at this point. So where do you put it?
Above Celeste, below Splatoon.
That's what I was thinking.
Fine by me.
Very good.
Shout out to that one character who was I forget his name, but is it Raph?
Oh yeah. Raph, for sure.
Shout out to Raph.
Yeah, he rules. Just a big brother bear. He's just like a big old teddy bear, but yeah, he's like the big brother character in the game, and just a lot of fun. Well, there it is, Fire Emblem Three Houses. Locking in on the list here of Game of the Year. Stay tuned next week for another look back at another game from the top 5 over the last 5 years. Last week, we jumped into Sea of Thieves, the Johnny Depp expansion. We did this. Mark, you had played a little bit of it, and then Matt and I jumped in with you, and we did that first chapter together. And so the main thing is it's a Pirates of the Caribbean tie-in. You go through a combination of what seems like beats from the movies, but also incorporates the actual theme park ride into the world of Sea of Thieves. And it's for me, Sea of Thieves is at its best when we are just getting lost at sea. We find a bottle, we open the bottle, we find a treasure map, we go to that island, we find the treasure, we come into some trouble, we fight some skeletons, we try to get the treasure back, we get attacked by the crack. Like, that is Sea of Thieves at its best. And the scripted stuff we had here was, I think, intriguing, and it did its best to let us, and you did too, Mark, because you'd already gone through it, so you kind of knew the answers to a lot of the puzzles, but you didn't necessarily let us, you didn't just jump in and do the stuff, so we were just streamlining. We did have to work a little bit to figure things out, but I still don't think that it was as good as just getting lost at sea is to me. I don't know. I like the presentation and everything about it, but I don't know that I had the best. I've had more fun with that game in other times. What do you guys think? Mark, you played through it twice.
No,
that first chapter.
I totally get where you're coming from with that. And yeah, I do agree. I think there's more of a charm to just kind of just letting the wind take you wherever, right? I don't think that this was particularly for us as players, just because we're already familiar with the game. We already know a lot of what they're trying to introduce here, so this seems like it was more so for maybe new players, and it is kind of a slow burn since it is the first mission, so they have to be I guess they feel they have to be super super heavy with like the introductions to everything and how it ties in with this other franchise. So my guess is that, like, yeah, it starts off being more about the ride, and then it slowly becomes more about the movie franchise. My theory is that as it goes on, it's probably going to start to become more and more intertwined with actual Sea of Thieves, and I think they're saving the more adventurous, juicy bits for later. So I am curious to still, like, check that out at least, but yeah. That said, I think on the whole, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess most people will try to figure out this will probably make it or break it for them. If they want like single player stuff, and I don't know. Like, I guess it all is based on like patience and whatnot. But I mean, but for like a crossover thing for free content. And it's also updating the actual game itself outside of that. Like, they are introducing new enemy types and whatever. It's not just exclusive to these missions. I think they did a pretty good job. It doesn't feel super forced, if that makes sense. Like, it all kind of makes sense and kind of fits together in a way. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's okay.
Yeah, no, I agreed. Matt, are you compelled to come back to this, or are you waiting for the Pittsburgh Pirates tie-in to Sea of Thieves?
No, I think this is just one of those, like, it's like a Telltale game that has a weak first chapter, and you just hope that the second and third chapter kind of rope you in. You'll see it through, but you kind of lower your expectations a little bit. I think the problem with this game was, one, the obtuse puzzles, like, they were very obtuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that one, we would have never. I think we would still be at that in our gameplay session. Looking.
Yeah,
at
I definitely needed a guide when I was doing it by myself, and then we needed it again when we were all together because there was still stuff that I didn't remember or
and then
left out.
The other part, like Sea of Thieves, one of the most complex features and gameplay loops of it is actually sailing your ship. Like, it is that game. I mean, from the first time I played it, I've applauded like how good sailing the ship and all the things that they put into it for a game like this. And you did not do that once. You did not do that once since you went into that portal. Like, you barely sailed to the portal, which was right across the water from the island where you got the quest line, and then from there you don't do it again, and then you're kind of forced into the ship battle. Was fun. It felt, forced because you weren't actually driving the ship. I feel like we actually had that Davy Jones battle where we go mano a mano with our ship, maybe with a little AI help, but we are controlling the ship and sailing and stuff. All mass chaos is going on, which happens when you get into ship battles in this game. I think that would make this a little bit more interesting. But I mean, all the stuff's there. I mean, Jack Sparrow, seeing Davy Jones, the attention to detail to his ship. I thought his ship looked pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, all that's cool. Maybe there's a little bit too much talking and not enough doing stuff at times. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. But the thing is, this is free. Totally, you can jump into it if you want, or you don't have to. It's fine. So I think for this being a free piece of content, it's worth at least checking out and seeing what you think of it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've never ridden the ride before, so I guess you get more of appreciation out of it if you've rode the ride before.
Yeah, like I think if you're just more so just a big like Disney fan or like enthusiast, especially with pirates, this is probably more so for that audience more than anything.
Yeah, but I think it didn't turn me off enough where I'm like, I'm not going to try episode 2 or whatever. But yeah, I do want to go back to that.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, it was fine. I'll at least check out the next part, but the next part's like, I think I'm off.
Fair, yeah.
Speaking of off, Tango Gameworks announced on Tuesday that its upcoming Ghostwire Tokyo has been delayed to early 2022. In a statement, we've made the decision to delay the launch of Ghostwire Tokyo to early 2022. We want to get the game in your hands as soon as possible so you can experience the unforgettable version of a haunted Tokyo that we've been hard at work building. At the same time, we're also focused on protecting the health of everyone at Tango. Tokyo itself is still haunted by COVID, as Japan was behind US in vaccination availability and rates. It was recently announced that the Olympics would not allow for foreign spectators to join, and more recently still, they've reduced that to no domestic spectators. So there will be no spectators at the Olympics. It's just going to be the games as it is. So, I mean, they're still in a state of emergency, in a lockdown. So this is not a surprise that a Japanese developer would be affected. What other games do you fear may be affected, Matt?
I hope not Shin Megami Tensei. I hope not, but that's a possibility. Yeah. Anything coming from a Japanese publisher, developer.
Sure.
I can't think of anything else, but that's the big game I'm looking forward to in the fall here.
There's that. I mean, do you think that stuff like Final Fantasy 16, like things like that may not have a hard release date, but are a little more, they're close, right? Like 16, I think we just saw there was a headline, I don't forget where, but the headline was basically that the main piece is done, the script is done, the capture's done. There's a lot of it that is done. They're just working on refining it now and turning it into an actual game. So do you fear that things like that may be affected long term?
I don't know. I mean, it depends how used they've gotten themselves acquainted to remote work or whatever, and also, like, of course, the health of the developers as well. I mean, that's a big part of it. If someone has to miss 2 weeks of work because they're sick, that can impact stuff, and that can be repeated or whatever. But no, I think the stuff with the loose release dates, I think that stuff's going to stay loose. But I just think that's the industry now. Why say a date 3 years out and then miss it or something like that? I think now you tell a date 8 months out and you just try your best to hit it. But no, I think it just honestly depends on the comfortability of the developer at this point. I know, like Call of Duty, with all the studios they had, they were so used to kind of like the remote part of it and communicating with the other studios via, like, I don't know, like a Microsoft Teams or whatever, that like when the actual developer itself it internally had to work from home, they were kind of used to it because of working with their sister developer companies. So I don't know. I think comfortability is going to be a big part of that, but they're not used to it, or they were beginning to go back into their offices and then have to split again and kind of reorganize themselves. That's where you're going to get your delays.
Mark, how do you think this delays, or how does the delay impact the fall lineup for PS5?
I don't, man. Like, just based on this game?
Well, I mean, this was expected October. Of course, the fan favorite from this podcast, Deathloop, due out in September. That I know Matt's eagerly awaiting. And like, has Matt been sending you like trailer after trailer for Deathloop?
No, because if he does, he knows that my pierogi posse will break down a door at any second. No, but I mean, so if it was coming out in October, I feel like for some reason October to me doesn't sound like it is any big party's like holiday hit to me. Usually that's like a November, maybe early December game. At least that's what I'm used to release date wise. And plus, I feel Sony puts more power into their own first party stuff anyway. So maybe this doesn't impact them too much.
Yeah, I'd hope so. Matt, what do you think? Are they as you are the one of us who has a PlayStation 5, where does this fall for you? Was this something you were looking forward to having this fall or not?
It was definitely a game coming out in the fall, which PlayStation desperately needs. I'm trying to scroll through now to see like what was coming in the fall, but I don't know. I mean, it's empty.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I honestly forgot this was coming out this year to begin with. So like the delay
I did too. When they announced the
really...
delay, I was like, "Oh right, they did announce that for later
yeah.
this year." But
yeah, I mean, there's gonna be other stuff that's gonna end up slipping too. I mean, we already saw. I don't know if we have it in our feed. I'm not looking at it, but what just got delayed? What, Rainbow Six Extraction and Riders Republic, right?
yeah.
Like that was
I
two
didn't put
other.
those in this week, but
That was like two other games that got delayed. Look, they can double down and triple down on this Deathloop date. I'll believe it when I see it. And then also your other big fall game is supposed to be Horizon. When they said that they can't guarantee 2021, like the what's his face, the new Shuhei, what's his name? Guy who oversees the games for first party studios.
Herman Hulst?
Yes, him. When he said that he can't necessarily commit to 2021, that I think that tells you everything, right? So, like, I'm not expecting Horizon anymore. I don't know what's gonna come to PS5 at the holiday.
So do you think that this is where something like Halo can step up and make a bigger push? I mean, you got Xbox with Game Pass. Halo, Forza are this fall. Is that enough to kind of tip the scales a bit, or?
I mean, it could. Right now, the console thing's at a very weird state because whenever they pop up, they sell out. So it's not like one's going to take the lead over the other because of games at this point. It's more so like you can get more units into production. So I don't think that's going to tip the scales. But like I think just as that first party library for Xbox, one, grows, and two, that Xbox Game Pass becomes more and more robust, I think that is going to be the big, like a year and a half from now, let's have this conversation, because I think it's going to be wild how much the scales have tipped here. But yeah, no, I mean, but like that's the other thing. Like I know Xbox is laying on these days, but we don't have a hard release date for Halo yet. I know they said Horizon's this year, but like, I'm still in that mode of like I don't believe it till I see it at this point, just because of everything.
Yeah, until it's on the hard drive, I'm not. Yeah. We also saw another Japanese developer just a few days after looking through. I opened my library of Xbox One or Xbox games to look through and see what do I want to play, and I saw the beta for Resident Evil Reverse, and I was like, oh yeah, that's coming out this month. That'll be a fun thing to toy around with a little bit. And then Capcom announced a delay of the full game's launch to 2022. No specific window, but in a brief statement, Capcom offers that updated launch details will be shared at a later time, and thanks players for their patience. Not that I was, incredibly looking forward to that, but I started reading Itchy Tasty, I believe is the name of it. It's Alex Aniel, aka CVX Freak, as he's known. Yeah, Itchy Tasty. An unofficial history of Resident Evil. It's available wherever you can buy books. And he basically, he starts off the book by stating that he went to Game Developers Conference a few years ago, and speaking Japanese, he was able to sit down with some of the people who were doing a talk on RE7 at the time. And he felt that there was a genuine connection because they're in America speaking through translators at an event like GDC, and it was the first time they could actually just speak in Japanese, so they were able to open up to a fan of Resident Evil and feel comfortable enough to talk about it. And he said that conversation kind of pushed him to dive deeper into the history, use some of his connections to try and get more of the stories of the history of the franchise out and put them into book form. So this, I believe, goes through the history of Resident Evil with some kind of untold before this book stories from the origins up through 4 or up to 4, somewhere around there. Anyway, so reading through that, I'm starting to get back into that Resident Evil thing. We're a couple months past Village, and DLC's not quite here yet, but I'm kind of getting there. So I was getting excited for this one a little bit, just to at least dive back into that world. I watched the first 8.5 seconds of that Netflix show, and then was bored immediately. It might get better than that, but I didn't go any further. So I don't know. Are we collectively sad of Reverse's delay, or I feel like Matt's got the little thing with a thing on the end of it that you wave in a circle?
Yeah, the white flag for that game.
No, well, all right.
Not excited at all. I could care less if this game comes or goes.
Mark?
It has me curious now. Like, I wonder if it's still going to be the same game a year later.
Or if they heard enough people like Matt and they're like, we got to fix this. We got to.
Right. Like, I know they have a pretty good ear when it comes to fan feedback. And they've been, taking surveys left and right, wanted to, collect player data left and right for everything. Even taking surveys after streaming events.
Yeah, that's true.
And I remember this game was playable for some people and had early access to like that alpha or whatever, and like it was playable, but at the same time, it's something nobody asked for. I think if they do anything multiplayer, I think people would prefer just pure cooperation, something like Outbreak.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if like.
Sorry, you mean Resistance, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, or Operation Raccoon City.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
My bad.
Capcom and Resident Evil they just pump out the multiplayer successes.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if this is still going to be the same game, if it's going to have the same title. Is it still going to be free for people who bought Village?
It is, and they said specifically in there that if you bought a physical copy, they recommend holding on to your redemption code. Digital purchases are automatically shoot into it.
Yeah. So yeah, it has me more intrigued now to like give it a whole year.
Yeah, what does this become?
Yeah, and they could do so much within that time.
Well, to make up for the wait, the Pokemon company and developer Timmy Studio Group announced on Thursday that Pokemon Unite will launch on Nintendo Switch July 21st.
Now we're waving that
toy. Fun fact about this, as I've been trying to find something to play, I kept opening the website to see if they had announced it. And I just kind of would do that, close it, and move on. Then out of nowhere, Matt texts me and says, "Where is this game?" And I'm like, that was it, man. All you had to do was say that, and tomorrow it's getting announced. What happens? Next day, got announced. Boom.
Insane.
All right, real quick, I'm going to run down. Here's your launch characters. Zeraora, Pikachu, Charizard, Snorlax, Crustle, Greninja, Adelgos, Talonflame, Lucario, Venusaur, Mr. Mime, Slowbro, Absol, Machamp, Wigglytuff, Alolan Ninetales, Cramorant, Gengar, Garchomp, Cinderace. Mark, who's your main?
Charizard's my go-to.
Matt, who's your main?
Looking at the defense and all the other stuff, I think I'm going to start with Slowbro and see where we go from there.
Good choice.
I
almost picked Snorlax.
Well, I like that Mark's like, I always go Charizard. And then me, I'm like, obviously Gengar. Matt's like, well, looking at the stats and knowing how they're going to play, this is the choice that I made. All right, so with our three, what other two characters do we need on the roster to make a team of 5? What's the best team lineup going to be for us?
Anyone
Wasn't
but
it
Pikachu.
5v5?
I believe it's 5v5.
Yeah, so... sorry, 2 more with our team, right?
Yeah, who are we adding?
On the Charizard's offense, I'm defense. I think you're like a speedster, I think they can define it as. So we would probably want...
You think we should add a Greninja?
Yeah. And then
I feel like Greninja and Ninetales could balance this team out pretty well.
I was thinking
I don't know what
Snorlax and
Ninetales
Machamp.
does.
Snorlax and Machamp would be a good combo too. I'm also good with the Lucario.
So, all right. So this answers your next question. You're gonna ask. Sorry to jump the gun. Lucario is gonna be the broken character at launch.
Yeah, who is OP at launch and Matt will complain about next week?
Lucario, and here's why.
Lucario.
The Unite Pokemon website has this character listed as an all-rounder and his difficulty as to play as expert. Its description is Lucario is a well-balanced Pokemon that combines speed and attack power. The fact that they say well-balanced in the description means that this character is going to be OP as fuck.
Right.
So yes, we're going to have a lot of Lucarios out there in the wild.
That's,
Lucario.
yeah, this is oddly enough, top of my excitement list for this year. I don't know why.
I don't, I've kind of fallen off Pokemon, but, if you guys are getting down on this, I will absolutely try this out.
Well, I'm the executive
hit me up
producer.
on that Switch app this week.
I should be in the credits as executive producer because I willed this into fruition.
Yeah, you'd be
For
credited
real.
as executive summoner, if anything.
I like that too.
I think the thing, I know you just named all those Pokemon that are, but the roster is technically a little bit bigger because you evolve into those
Correct,
Pokemon.
yeah.
So,
I would never want to be past Charmander.
Yeah, I know. But that kind of plays more into what you expect from a traditional MOBA, right? There's some character progression, there's some things that happen. So I think this game's gonna have some depth to it, and I'm excited to see how it goes. I also gut reaction looking at this roster is who? But then I'm happy about it. We're seeing some faces of Pokemon that we don't typically see in the mainstream Pokemon games, and I like that a lot. I like being kind of introduced to other Pokemon that I don't this is not at all what my Pokemon teams normally look like in the games. This is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I had this exposure to new Pokemon was Pokemon Go once they started releasing Gen 2 and Gen 3, when kind of the second coming with us playing that game. I got exposed to a lot of Pokemon, good or bad. Bad, I'm looking at your nose pass. But, yeah, no, I'm excited to see these other Pokemon, I guess. And I might end up having to use them, so here we go.
Yeah, between this and that Legends Arceus game, those are my two Pokemon things I'm most excited about right now. To make the news of video game delays even better, Game Mill Entertainment with developers Ludosity and Fairplay Labs have announced a new platform fighting game, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, for PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. It will launch this fall and feature Nicktoons characters. We know of, I believe, 13 so far.
It's 14.
It's 14. So we've got Danny Phantom, Helga Pataki, Leonardo, that Nicktoon, Leonardo the Ninja Turtle, Lincoln and Lucy Loud, those are two separate characters, Michelangelo, also the Ninja Turtle, Nigel Thornberry, Oblina from Ah Real Monsters, Patrick, Sandy, and SpongeBob from the SpongeBob television series, Powdered Toast Man, Reptar, and Zim from Invader Zim. Do kids know who Powdered Toast Man is? Or
probably not. I hardly remember him. I'm had to do a little Google search on him to remember.
Did you fall into the, hey, I really like SpongeBob? Are we that far apart in cartoon generations?
I mean, SpongeBob was not my biggest watch, but that was very much the SpongeBob crowd. My sister, who was 7 years ahead of me, was very much the Ren and Stimpy crowd.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm exposed to it a little bit. But yes, I did not remember Power Toast Man. I had to do a little search on that.
That's the guy. I mean, pick of the litter here, Oblina. That's Come on. We're bringing back the Real monsters. I'm very excited to see this. Who is missing from this lineup? Mark, what do you think?
I think we can apply the other turtles will be there.
I assume so.
You can't just
They were in
add
the kart
two
racer.
and leave two of them out. That's just that's a big mistake. I mean, there were silhouettes of characters they haven't revealed yet. So I know like Korra is one of them from Avatar: Legend of Korra. I'm sure Aang will be in there at some point, but
Who?
I'm rooting for some angry beavers.
Angry Beavers would be a nice, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good fit. Matt, who do you think? Who's missing from this?
Waluigi. Seriously, I mean, I think there's some obvious characters left out. Like, right? Like, we have Helga from Hey Arnold, but, like, where's Arnold? Like, like, right? Like, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like, you
some...
look at Oblina, and you don't have Ickis or Crumb.
Yeah, I think you're going to have some obvious ones. I don't remember a lot of Nickelodeon. I don't know. What's, we got Reptar. What's Tommy Pickles' dad up to, you know? Him versus Nigel.
He's laying pipe, dude. Stu gets it in. That's what he's up to.
Nigel versus Stu. Come on, let's see it.
I'd be good with that.
Where's like I want to see Cat Dog.
Yeah, that's
I think Cat Dog. I think you can make him out from the cover. I was doing a little roster research before this.
That would be like your Ice Climbers equivalent.
I vote Pete and Pete.
Pete and Pete.
Get him in there, man. Or at least the tattoo.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they incorporate any live action characters.
Because it's called Nickelodeon All-Stars Battle Royale, not Nicktoon All-Stars, right? I'm not wrong on that. So,
yes.
Yeah, I want that Amanda Bynes DLC.
And there you go. Yeah. Just throw a bottle of orange soda in there. We can do the whole Keenan and Kel bit.
Yeah, summon some lobsters, you know?
I think it'd be good. Yeah, I would like to see this grow and expand. There's, what's that Power Rangers game, right? Like, that was another game where it's kind of like, you think about what that game was when it was announced, and it seemed like, yeah, okay, they got the license, so that's something, but it's still a smaller project. And this definitely has similar shades of that, but it could grow depending on how well this is received.
I mean, it peaked competitive fighting interest because it has rollback netcode in it. So, like,
right.
A lot of people were surprised to hear that. So that has legs in the fighting community.
Yeah, because a lot of fighters still don't have that.
Yeah. So who is OP at launch and Matt complains about next week?
I want to say Sandy Cheeks.
Pretty good.
Let's have a feeling. It's not going to be a main character from a show, much like Ryu in Street Fighter. He's never like the dude, the OP dude. He's just like well balanced, but it's going to be one of the side characters. And she's going to do something stupid, and it's going to break the game. And she's going to need a patch in the first week.
If there is a character that can't make it in as a full playable character, who should be an assist trophy in the game, Mark?
Oh, I don't know his name. From My Real Monsters, the one that holds the eyeballs.
Crumb.
Yeah.
Crumb be good. Have him come in and spray you with his pit smells.
Mm-hmm. Or the monkey from Wild Thornberries.
Darwin.
Yeah.
That'd be good. You think we get some rocket power?
I hope so.
I thought that was Cartoon Network.
Mm-mm.
Oh. That'd be rad.
Literally. You could
Get
have
Tito
Squid
or
skateboard by with his little shark helmet and cut people.
Oh my god.
They could do some stuff. Game Mill Entertainment also this week announced that the Raw Thrills developed Cruisin' Blast will launch on Nintendo Switch September 14th. I really feel like that OLED Switch was meant to launch September 14th, and because Metroid maybe won't be ready until October, or there's so many games that are dropping on September 14th that I feel like there was a thing at some point where Nintendo said, hey, this is when the thing is, so developers, get your games out. And everybody pushed to get September 14th, and now there's just a lot happening on Switch. Anyway, this is console exclusive to Switch, I think temporarily, but this is coming from the arcade, and this is the next in the Cruisin' series. I'm intrigued by it. I hope it runs well. We will see. But I always like those classic racers.
Bluegrass Boogie.
Oh my gosh, you know it. And racing into our minds this week, Matt, you played Superliminal.
Sure did. Picked this up on sale. Gracias to Mark for reminding me that it was on sale via GMG last week. This is another one of those. We talked about it at Game of the Year a little bit. So I'm not going to go into it too much, but I mean, and there's not much to talk about without getting into some like spoilerish territory, but this is like another one of those fun little portal-like experiences where you're presented with a series of puzzles. You complete the puzzles and you keep moving along. It has like they're not like handing you the story. It's more like methodical. I don't know how to describe it. But it's not like a in-your-face story. Like you do a level and then like you get presented with something. Like I think it goes above just regular storytelling, especially towards the end of the game. But I think this game does what this game does really well. Kind of separates itself into levels without really telling you levels. But in each level, they kind of focus on a different aspect. Pun not intended, but like another aspect of the mechanics of what this game does, and it kind of focuses on it. And I won't say how many levels it is, but it is short. If you take your time to get stuck on something, you maybe be an hour and a half. You could probably get through it if you know what you're doing in less than an hour. But yeah, it doesn't outstay its welcome. I think by the time I was getting tired of doing puzzles and I was about to put it down, it very much felt like I was at the end of this game, so I saw it through. There was one puzzle I could not figure out. I had to, I went to a guide for, but it was only one, thank God, so I feel pretty good about myself. It was the, Mark, I know you know, it was the perspective puzzle where you go down and it's you can go turn left or right, but one way is a dead end and the other way is the exit, and you have to do it 5 times in a row. That was the one. Right. That was the one I ended up having to look up. Okay. But I don't feel bad because I don't think I would have figured that out. So yeah, no, I think it's a solid game. I don't know what it is regularly. I think is it $20 regularly?
That sounds right. I'm checking.
I think I picked it up for like 11. So
yeah, it's normally 20.
I think if you are a fan of Portal, and you really like that kind of puzzle aspect, where it plays with expectations a little bit as well. I think it's definitely worth $20. And it especially I think is a must. I think it's a must get if you find it on sale. I think it's a little fun 90-minute game. It makes you feel good about yourself by the end of it. So just for that alone, I think it's worth checking out. But yeah, no, it's a very clever mechanic. And then the things that they end up doing with the one piece of the clever mechanic makes for a very interesting game.
I can't believe
what was the last type of game like this that you played through? Because these are seldom, right? Like they don't come along very often.
I don't count like your Inside or your Limbo to be in this category. They're puzzle games, but they're not like this. There was that. Oh, there was. There is one I played right around the time I was started buying Steam games. Damn, I can't think of it.
Antichamber?
I can't think of it. Huh?
Antichamber.
That's
maybe?
it. That's the one. Antichamber.
Yep.
I did not beat that. I got to a point where I could not think any further, and then I came back to it way too late to remember where I was at. So But yeah, that was probably the last one. I did, however, try The Witness one time, but did not stick with it. Unlike
Oh, it looks like Mark has stuck with it. You've been playing The Witness this week.
Yeah. Man, what a challenge. I mean, that's all I've heard about this game before going into it, so I was like a little intimidated by it. But I was like, I gotta try this at some point. Like, I've been meaning to. It looks so pretty. I just want to see what it was all about. And yeah, that game doesn't hold your hand at all. It's just like, good luck. Go wherever, figure it out. It's kind of the same puzzle over and over, but they keep adding new elements to it that make it more difficult. And even then, you have to try to figure out how these puzzles work. So they're all based on... Oops, sorry. It's usually like a door or like a wall of some kind, and then on that panel, there's going to be this square. And within the square is going to be all these little empty lines, usually kind of maze-like, and the whole point is to go from point A to point B to unlock either the next puzzle or open a door or wherever you want to go next if it opens something. And every time you connect point A to point B, they have new ways that they throw in on how to do that. And usually like the tutorial quote phase of that is usually you get it's usually 5 panels in a row. And if the first one's very basic and simple, and then once you do that, it unlocks the next one. So, and it keeps getting a little more complex with each one out of the 5, and then it'll kind of be like, all right, you kind of get the hang of it. So whenever you see this throughout the rest of the world, you know what to do. But story-wise, I have no idea what's going on. The land is so you're not really gated off for the most part. You can kind of walk wherever you want and try to do whatever you can, but there kind of seems like there is a specific way to kind of go, because some places you're just not going to know what to do, so you're going to be limited with how far you can get unless you learn how to do those puzzles. So so it's almost Zelda-like in a way, where like, all right, this area is where I learned this mechanic, and then I'll have that experience when they combine it with past puzzles that I've done when I'm in this area. But it's so weird. Like, you start off in like a mini castle courtyard, and then it opens into like this weird flourished like field and forest, and then at another point there's like a rundown like shed area with like a weird bank vault inside of it that's been busted open, and then there's like another more castle like structure somewhere. I don't know, it's like, and another part kind of looks like outside of a lab. Like, it just keeps switching, but yet it all makes, for some reason it works the way it all blends together too, even though these all look like they're from different timepieces. The only narrative that I've seen are these tape recorders you find, and they give very vague bits of information. It's usually a woman reciting something. It's usually a quote of some kind too. It's not just a direct, hey, this is what happened. And you find statues all throughout this land too. They look like people that were just living their normal lives, but they just look like petrified or something. Like, I was in this other castle courtyard doing a puzzle, and you have some like people that look like they might be from a medieval time, but then you go a little further down, there's a dude playing guitar like hooked up to an amp. There's like people in modern like clothing, but they're all together in this area, and it's just like, I have no idea what is going on, how this happened. So I guess you're figuring that out.
Yeah, because it seems very Myst-esque or inspired by Myst, which has kind of those elements of surreal. What's happening? Where am I? What is the space and time? So do you feel like as you uncover, like, you haven't beaten it yet?
No.
What's your guess? Like, where do you feel like this is gonna turn?
Well, you first start off in like almost like a vault kind of thing. You're in just like this tube with no light, and there's just a door in front of you, and then boom, you're out here. So I'm either thinking that like maybe you were put into like some type of like doomsday bunker, or just some type of capsule maybe some type of time capsule. I have no idea. But I wouldn't be surprised if your character had something to do, or he knows somebody that had something to do with whatever is going on. Because like I can see a silhouette of my character, but it's all first person. But I can never, even if I'm near water with reflection or anything, I can never see what exactly this character looks like. So I can't get any context based off of him if he has anything on him, you know, like maybe if he's like wearing something or might have a scar from something. I won't know for sure. But the fact that there's a woman leaving these vague quotes mostly from literature makes me think that there's some connection between those two. Obviously something tragic had to have happened, because I'm believing these are real people that got turned to stone. I don't think these are just sculptures just laid throughout the land to be cute, because like some you got to really look for. And I went through some bushes or like a off beaten path, and there was just this blanket on the ground, almost like a picnic blanket, but there's just a dog sitting on top of it. And he looked peaceful.
He's also stone, or is he real?
Yeah, just all stone. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Does this kind of do a similar thing to your brain that Superliminal does, where you feel that kind of sense of reward? Or is it, the way you're describing it seems like you have the puzzles, but there's more of a mystery element to it than Superliminal seems to have?
Yeah, like Superliminal, even though as abstract as that game is, it is still a little linear, but that's like kind of the point. But like, you know, it has a good way of guiding you into the next thing, and it's not as much of you just like exploring where to go next, and it's all to like figure out your own progress. So because of that, it makes it a little, it's something going to take longer, and it makes it a little more difficult to try to put pieces together and try to make sense of any of it. So to avoid that type of overwhelmingness for me, I just kind of just unplug and just whatever I feel is the way I want to go. Let's see what I can do. But yeah, no matter, like, I give a little bit of time each day throughout the week when I was playing this. Trying to figure out. Yeah, so I probably put a little more than an hour into this. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I got a lot of puzzles done, but at the same time, I felt like I've gotten nowhere. It's so strange. I don't know.
I'm curious to see how much time it ends up taking you to get through.
Yeah, like I'm very intrigued, and like I'm trying to like not look up anything, but like trying to understand some of these puzzles is a little. I think that's the hardest part. Whenever they introduce a new mechanic, it's hard to figure out how to do these exact puzzles because like I said, it's all just connecting that line, right? Point A to point B. But they throw in symbols in there, and those symbols mean something. So like sometimes you have to trace a certain shape before you make it to point B. Sometimes you have to go between certain symbols before going to point B. Stuff like that. And that part seems to be the most frustrating part for me, but it's okay. Like it's, you know, it's not making me like hate the game or anything. It's but that's been the biggest challenge. Like I don't mind exploring, walking around, seeing where to go next, whatever, but yeah, just trying to figure out new mechanics is the biggest struggle for me. But other than that, I am enjoying it. I like this world. I know I'm always a fan of first person puzzles in a, you know, in liminal or very, you know, isolated spaces. There's a weird calmness to it for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it touches those vibes just like Superliminal or Stanley Parable isn't really a puzzle game, but it's hitting those same vibes for me. And
yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of those. I think I revisited Portal last year at some point. And that it was like that felt like going home in a way. It was nice, but yeah, it's been a bit. I spent some time this week. The Mister has been a constant source of I don't know what to do, so I'll turn that on and just kind of channel surf in a way. And we did some reorganization down here in the basement, and I finally brought the tube TV out and found a home for it. And in doing so, ordered the cables necessary to connect the Mister to it. And I feel like I'm in a brand new world. Like, the Mister was already rad, and I think played really well on a modern TV, but putting it on the old TV, it feels like I'm playing a Sega Genesis again. You know what I mean? Like, it's got that exact what I want. The problem is I can't find anything that I want to. I keep the channel surfing mentality up, right? Like, I just keep kind of, I'll try this for 5 minutes and then I'll move on. I'll try this for 5 minutes and then I'll move on. So I'm trying to limit myself to, I want to pick a pool of games, have a randomizer pick that, and then just play that one thing. Kind of like it worked out like, I didn't know what to play one night on Xbox, and they have the little surprise me thing built into your game library now. So I had it do that. It pulled up Tetris Effect, and then I played Tetris Effect for an hour and I finished Journey Mode and felt great. Like, that was awesome. So I need to do that, but for the Mister, because there's just too much possibility and so easy. You can just press the menu button and jump. But that one, I'm trying to explore some Sega CD stuff. I'm excited for Saturn, but we're still a little bit ways off from the Saturn project to fully realize itself. And then the PlayStation core has just, there's been no movement on that ever since it was a team of two and the one guy left. So no updates on that. But yeah, I mean, I think we talked earlier about, the new Switch coming out. We talked about where current consoles are at in terms of, games and libraries. And I still think that, like, if you're looking for something, the Mister is such a cool project. And there's, I think the versatility of it, where you can play it on a modern TV, the games look great and play great. There's such low latency depending on your input that it still feels like you remember it, but in a, you can play it in a modern setting with ease. But now seeing how easy it is to get it hooked up to an old TV and kind of recapture that same sense that you had from the original console, like, that's, I don't know, man, super exciting in that way. And then it makes things like, when they do bring out those Sonic games for modern consoles, it's like, do I need that? Because I kind of have it already in the best way possible. Like, that's the one thing I've been consistent with, is I'm playing through Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the like final version of that, where it's the complete, because Sonic 3 was intended to be that whole bit, but they split it into Sonic 3 and then Sonic and Knuckles. But when you play them together, you get the whole package. And I've been playing through that, and the Mister can do dual output, so I'm seeing them side by side, and it looks so much better on the old CRT. Like, it shouldn't, right? Like, but it just, the way that the like natural scan lines look and everything, it gorgeous. And I did not think I'd be that guy that was talking about a CRT in 2021, the way that people do. But I'm telling you, man, if you've got it, it's well worth the investment. We're going to invest some time into a little break here. When we come back, we've got more hardware announcements to talk about, new shooter games, and checking in with our old buddy Hideo right after this. In a thread this week, Hideo Kojima shared his feelings toward the subtitle of Director's Cut attached to the upcoming release of Death Stranding for the PlayStation 5. The director stated that a, quote, Director's Cut in a movie is an additional edit to a shortened version that was either released reluctantly because the director did not have the right to edit it, or because the running time had to be shortened. In the game, it is not what was cut, but what was additionally produced that was included. Director's Plus So in my opinion, I don't like to call it director's cut. That makes sense. It seems like a weird thing, and I feel like this is a product of Sony's like desire to have these big blockbuster movie like games rather than, I don't know, like why. I guess we used to call this Game of the Year edition, which also didn't make sense because it wasn't like, I don't know, some of them weren't Game of the Year. I don't know, but how do we feel about, should this have been called Directors Plus? Is this marketing and nothing more?
Just call it the ultimate version. Just, or special, I don't know, just not. Especially for all the shit he went through with Metal Gear Solid. This is like the absolute wrong game to call Director's Cut.
Right.
Yeah, like, doesn't he... I guess it's not up to him to pick the name?
Probably not.
In this scenario, I'm going to say no.
Go to Lord of the Rings route, call it the Extended Edition.
Yeah,
that's fine. Like, yeah. But this confirms what I kind of, 2 weeks ago? I talked about, where I think this is a Sony thing going forward with Ghost of Tsushima doing it, and then who knows what they do with The Last of Us Part 2, and whatever else they decide to re-release on PlayStation 5. This confirms it. Also, I'm glad he spoke out, because he was getting a lot of flack about this being a director's cut when it was his own studio that did this game.
Yeah, it seemed like a weird thing, so it's good to hear that. And I don't know, maybe this is the first sign towards him working with other publishers.
Yeah, like, because he also said he didn't make that trailer. Like, that was somebody else. And, like, he put, like, I think he put a poll out on Twitter, was like, would you guys want to see my version? Like, whatever. And he talks about how, like, music choice dictates how he creates everything.
Sure.
So it's interesting.
I think that might be speaking of the Mister, that might be the one I try and get lost in, is Snatcher, because I've got that and I've never played it, and I'm looking for some Sega CD stuff, so I think that might be the one to do.
Nice.
Japanese showbiz news site Nikon Taishu claims that sources tell it that Takuya Kimura's talent agency have been blocking PC versions of the games in the Judgment series because they do not want the actor to appear in PC games specifically. It's not entirely clear why, but the site suggests that the agency, quote, has strict control over the likeness rights of its talent, and the use of their image online is still limited to a few. This, to me, feels reminiscent of how the WWE controls its talent and the limitations we began seeing the last few years with restrictions to external appearances. I remember there were some things with they could no longer stream on Twitch, or they couldn't appear on other live shows, things like that. Even as their out of wrestling their actual being could not be there because their face was property of the Worldwide Wrestling Vince McMahon Entertainment division. Combined with the previous issues where the first game's original actor was arrested and replaced, do you think this is maybe a bad sign for the future of the Judgment series, Mark?
It's looking very likely the way that it's going. I know they haven't, like, stated specifically, like, all the reasons. Sega's just been kind of, like, tight-lipped about it. But there are a lot of unwritten details there that people can just kind of piece together on, like, what's going on behind the scenes. How it's, like, not exactly in their control, because, like you said, like, that agency or whatever. And I heard a little bit about it. But yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, because, like, that actor is so, I guess, pretty successful, more so in, like, I think it's, like, the Southeast Asia, like, region, where, like, he's, like, solely responsible, I feel, for, like, a majority of the sales. And I think, like, that, like, a lot of the money or sales for that game comes from that area. So I think they're just, like, they're just being super super strict about what that guy, I guess, can and can't do. But I don't know. Just feel, I don't even know what his contract is like. But if it's something he can't get out of, yeah, I do not see this series flourishing unless they change the main character's appearance somehow, or
Ichi is in both series.
So that was my next thing. I mean, Matt, like
Yeah.
with Yakuza Like a Dragon, they kind of are moving Yakuza in different directions, even without it being a full spin-off. But do you feel like that's the future for this series? Like, or do we just get different? Maybe this is the end of the Judgment storyline, but the beginning of new spin-offs.
Yeah, maybe Judgment ends, or they figure out a way to pivot to a new character with the Judgment storyline. Yeah, I can see them doing that. I mean, it's easy enough. I mean, they did it just fine with Ichi, I think. And this game is not like, I mean, this will be the second one. It's not like, I guess it's a series at this point, but it's not like there's been like 10 of these and you're changing the main character. You're still kind of young,
Right.
and we don't know the story in this either. I mean, something could potentially happen to the main character in this story, so, you know, there could be room to pivot based off, you know, what happens in the storyline of this game, but I don't know. That's weird. Was the first Judgment game exclusive to PlayStation, at least initially?
Initially, it was, and
Yeah.
now it's on Xbox.
So this
at
is Sony's fault that they're in this, because if they knew they were able to get this onto PC at some point, they would have negotiated that in the contract with this actor probably.
I think that that's more a result of Sega just wanting to put their games on, right? Like put them on the platform that's popular. Because Sega was not great at putting things on PC anyway, up until, I mean, they're still not, right? Like there's still a lot of games missing from the PC catalog. They're getting there, but I think they went with what they knew was popular in Japan, which was PlayStation. I'd be curious to see like what Sega starts to do with the Switch. Now the Switch is the predominant platform over there, in addition to mobile. But yeah. I don't know, but as Last Judgment makes its way to store shelves, Final Fantasy XIV is taken off of store shelves this week. Digital copies of Final Fantasy XIV, the online MMO, that's a redundant statement, online MMO, sold out. Those attempting to purchase Final Fantasy XIV, learned this week that the digital copies can sell out as servers became too overwhelmed and the publisher placed a hold on new sales as well as character creation. But shortly after the limit on those digital copies, the publisher started advertising its free login campaign, allowing returning players to play free for 14 days as long as you log in between July 19th and August 23rd to prepare yourself for the upcoming expansion, Endwalker, this fall. Final Fantasy XIV reached 22 million concurrent players, which I don't know if that's higher than WoW's highest record, but I remember at the South Park World of Warcraft episode days that WoW was at 14 million subscribers. So 22 is big, man. And I thought Final Fantasy XIV kind of had its blip a few years back with the Shadowbringers expansion, but it seems like it's growing. And numbers on WoW are declining. This is increasing. I guess, when do you think this releases on Xbox, Matt?
And it might pause it to calm their servers here for a hot second. I think the question is, do they need to?
Well, yes, because I don't want to play it until it's on Xbox.
No, but no, seriously, they're having server issues because of the growing popularity, and they're about to release an expansion, which, you know, always brings peak numbers for server load. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously they probably don't have the copy like ready to go right now. I think you would have heard at some event at this point if it was close, but I don't know. But I think the other part of it is, do they need it right now? As they keep testing that library with Game Pass to see how much interest the Xbox audience does have for Final Fantasy and whatever else Square is putting out there.
We've kind of heard the opposite from the series producer that it's not off the table, but let's focus on getting Endwalker out and shipped this fall before working on porting it to anything else. Mark, what are you waiting for? How come you're not playing Final Fantasy 14?
Commitment. I don't know. That's I feel I would probably be more influenced if there was like a decent group of people to play with, I guess. Not sure if that's something I can treat like Phantasy Star, where I can just probably go in here and there single player. Like, I'm sure I can, but I don't think that's the point of it as well. Yeah, I don't know. Me and Final Fantasy, it's like we're next to each other, but we're not holding hands like ever.
Maybe this 14-day free trial. Maybe I will. Maybe this is when I give the Mac version a shot, because I'd played on PlayStation, never on computer. But maybe I don't know. I've wanted to for a really long time, but again, I've been kind of like, they'll bring it to Xbox and they'll have a good way to like kind of like, you know what I mean, like get into that world. And some of the upgrades they've made with the PS5 version seemed exciting. That I was hoping that we'd see something similar on Series X, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'll see if it's available. And maybe this fall I could play it in the palm of my hands. Because Thursday, Valve announced the Nintendo Switch Advance, which it is calling Steam Deck. Shipping December 2021. The handheld PC allows players to bring their Steam library anywhere and allows for installation of other software, including Windows. Steam Deck is launching in 3 models with different storage capacities, starting at $399 with a base of 64 gigs of storage. That storage is expandable via SD card. The hardware made via partnership with AMD, as opposed to the Nintendo Switch is NVIDIA partnership. The device will allow for video out using an official dock that supports external displays, wired networking, and USB peripherals. The one thing I saw, the main site makes a point of showing an up-close look at the analog sticks in action, which the analog sticks also have capacitive touch, kind of just on the surface of them, which is an interesting little addition to the handheld. Do you think that this thing is a serious competitor to the Nintendo Switch, Mark?
I think it's a little bit, but I think it's just more so kind of found its own little niche area too. Like, because it can play everything else but Nintendo games, and they might perhaps run a little better depending on the game. But yeah, like it's also a better alternative if you don't want to get somebody, like if you're a parent getting a kid like a gaming device, and you don't want to dish out a lot for like a laptop or something. I think this is a good alternative to that, for sure.
Matt, why aren't you buying one?
I don't use my Switch in handheld mode a lot right now, and the way my setup is, my computer is about 6 feet away from the TV. So with me not playing a lot of handheld, there's no really need to get a PC handheld when it's right next to the TV.
Yeah.
I mean, At first, I thought it was only Steam. I didn't realize the Windows part of it could. I didn't realize.
To be fair, so I want to clarify. It's not necessarily running Windows. It does run.
Yes, that's what I was going to get at.
It's Steam OS. It's an arm of Linux, but they very much show that like you can do whatever you want with this thing.
That's where I was going to get at, right? It doesn't run Windows natively. So at what point does this become like a thing where like you're not hacking it, but like you're putting in more homework into this device and it might not run it optimally, and you might run into other issues. The other part of this, and thank you to our friends at Digital Foundry for giving me this little tidbit, the architecture for a lot of these games in the Steam library they're built more on Vulkan, which will run better on Windows, not so much on Linux. So there could be potential performance issues for those games not optimized for this device.
Right. It seems like they're doing a lot to make it easy for developers to get their games up and running on this thing quickly without much work. But yeah, it's a good point, for sure. Seeing this thing, I think it's ugly. I don't like the way it looks. I think it's like boxy and does not like. I think the Switch looks fantastic, especially when it was coming off like what the Wii U was, where the Wii U just felt like such a piece of the past. Like I still love the Wii U, right? But like when you see the Switch next to the Wii U gamepad, it's like night and day, right? But even like the Vita, the PSP, like they're just sleek pieces of hardware. And this just looks like, it doesn't look comfortable to hold. It doesn't look like, I don't know, the buttons seem boring. The layout, I don't know, the ergonomics. I don't like the way this thing looks at all. But it has me excited for, like, Valve's not stupid, right? Like whenever Valve makes an investment in something, they do it with so much care and so much research behind it. So they know that there's something to this, right?
Do we want
Should PlayStation re-enter the handheld market?
Well, wait, hold on. Time out. We'll revisit that. Do we want to remember the Steam Machine and how much of a fucking fiasco that was?
They didn't have direct, right? Like you could see where like they put investment into that. They let the developers of those machines or the manufacturers of those machines kind of dictate what they looked like in the end, and I think that they learned from that to then iterate on that in the future. I'm not saying every step's been whatever, but they've at least, I think, like the Steam controller, they put so much care and dedication into like, how can we make a controller, right? And then like
but that
the
thing
research
sucks.
they did. I'm not saying it's right, like, but that doesn't. The Steam Deck could suck too, right?
I mean,
but
yeah.
like, they at least like they put thought into it and they did it their own way, and they saw that there was a need that they could try to fill, and I think they did that again with the VR headset. They're doing it again with this. But do you think that PlayStation, now that we're seeing a more competition for the Switch, do you think PlayStation could or should re-enter the handheld market?
No.
Matt is like violently shaking his head no.
No.
Why not?
I mean, for as good as the PSP was, it didn't really make a dent in that. Like, I mean, I guess it did something, right? They did a successor, but it, you know, the mobile market is known as Game Boy. And it did not change to PSP, and now it's known as Switch, and I don't see it changing anytime soon to something else. And then, of course, the successor, the Vita, fucking flopped. Not necessarily anyone's fault. I mean, Sony just didn't market. I think it was more Sony's fault than anyone because they didn't market it properly and they didn't give it enough attention. But it failed, and I don't see them revisiting that a third time because this isn't the crazy hungry PlayStation from last generation.
But you don't think if they had a device that could run your PS4 library. And also,
they do. It's called a PS5, and they don't pay enough attention to that as far as their back catalog.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a smart move in terms of their resources, but the race for like power and all of that, we're already seeing them kind of step backwards from, right? Where like they're making things that are exclusive for PS5, suddenly they're not exclusive for PS5. So if you can do that, you can kind of start to bridge the gap with another device that allows the PS4 owners to upgrade in a way. I don't know. There's that. I think of things like xCloud and where that stuff's going that maybe. Mark, do you think Xbox should go the next step in what it's doing with, working with Razer to make peripherals for your phone and just make a dedicated handheld machine?
I don't think they necessarily have to make anything too dedicated, because it seems like their whole target is just trying to play their stuff on almost virtually anything, like even your phone, right? So I feel they're not too worried about doing a handheld thing exclusively, and especially if they're trying to bring an xCloud. I think that's, I think they're going to start probably pushing that a little more, if anything, and they probably still want you to use their controllers still.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing I saw this week that Microsoft announced outside of gaming is they're doing cloud PC. Like, you can just stream an instance of Windows to any device. So it seems like streaming is where they're pushing that stuff, but I don't know. I want to live in a world where we have dedicated handhelds. Make the Game Gear 2.
I think you see Xbox enter the VR ring before a handheld. Because in their opinion, you already have the handheld, like Mark said. Exactly like Mark said. You already have the devices.
Steam Deck out this December. Pre-orders started Friday. I don't know if they're sold out at this point, but you can pre-order via Steam. The next in M2's Shot Trigger series has been announced for release. Kyoku Tiger Heli for PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch will release on October 28th in Japan. The collection will be available for 3,960 yen and includes Kyoku Tiger and its predecessor Tiger Heli. Downloadable content, which adds the side-scrolling beat-em-up, Get Star, and additional ports of the other games, will be available for 1,980 yen. All content will be included in a physical collection, which will be sold for 7,480 yen. This is a little different. I mean, I loved the Aleste collection that M2 put out last year, which still is yet to make it stateside, but it's pretty easy to make a Japanese account on both PlayStation and Switch, so you should do it if you're interested in those. This is a little different. The fact they're adding in the side scroller is a neat touch. But M2 just continually puts out these like very niche, very specific collections that are like incredibly well done. I'm looking forward to it. There's not much more to say to that other than they've announced, and that'll be out this year. M2 is still working on a new Aleste arcade game that's starting to get shopped around in Japan as we speak. There's some other stuff they're working on in that field that I'm looking forward to. They're just a super talented developer. We also learned this week that Cave, developer behind the Donpachi and Dodonpachi Resurrection games, Cave famously has made a lot of bullet hell shooters. They have announced that they'll be working on a new game in the Touhou series. A lot of the Touhou games are also bullet hell shoot 'em ups, although they've done some spin-offs and there's a long history with Touhou. We don't know if this is a bullet hell game or not. We just know the Cave is working on a game in the series. And this might seem like something, who cares, why are we talking about this? But this is kind of like when Capcom announced that it would make Tekken. Or like if NetherRealm announced it was going to make Street Fighter 6. Like it's cool. You have a lot of people. I know the staff of Cave has changed over the years, so I don't know how many are actually still there or who's moved on to places like M2 and whatnot. But yeah. Exciting. That'll be out 2022. We'll probably learn more about that later this year. Again, the Mister has been a bottomless resource for shooters, and a lot of fun. Speaking of NetherRealm, first reported by Windows Central, there was a document that claimed NetherRealm Studios and TT Games were no longer considered in the scope of Warner Brothers' future, and that the owner was seeking potential buyers. However, to counter that, in a statement to The Gamer, Remy Sklar from Warner Brothers Games explains that both companies are to remain. He says, quote, "I can confirm that NetherRealm Studios and TT Games will continue to remain a part of Warner Brothers Games, and all are included in the Warner Media Discovery merger." So there's that. We at least know some piece of what's happening with the Warner game division. When do we see that next NetherRealm game, Matt?
It depends. Did this project have to be put on pause while they figured out I mean, let's face it, both of NetherRealm's core games are very much tied to WB, so I mean, I'm sure they maybe kept working on it, but how much effort was put into it, maybe because they were expecting it to be canceled or whatever. I mean, I would think what they did. They had an event for Mortal Kombat, right? Oh no, didn't they announce that at the Game Awards? That then it said tune into the event. We could see them back at the Game Awards. I could see that happening.
Well, this side of the fence, or this side, we're back on the other. We're on the DC thing now, right? If they are going the Injustice
Correct.
3, or there's this rumored Marvel piece. But I mean, Mark, do you think we see this at Fandom?
Oh right.
I mean, if it is purely a, Injustice DC game, pretty high chances there for sure.
I don't think even
I hope we
if
see
it
it
just
soon.
incorporates DC in some way, I think you can put it
Yeah.
at Fandom.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to put I know it's not going to be Mortal Kombat. What are we at? 12 now? 13?
12, yeah.
I know it's not going to be that, but if it was something like that where it didn't, that's not going to be there.
I'm curious. We'll find out in a
I
couple
forgot all
months.
about Fandom because they said there's going to be games there, right?
Yeah, so
I mean,
At least one.
at the minimum, we would see maybe that Suicide Squad game and
Arkham.
Gotham Knights.
oh
But
yeah, sorry, Gotham Knights, right?
yeah. Next month, QuakeCon at Home returns on August 19th. Bethesda announced on Thursday. This year's event will run through August 21st. Feature live streams for existing and upcoming games, tournaments, charity fundraising, and more. If you're excited about the show, you can pick up one of two commemorative shirt designs. There's one that has a pug that's turned into a mancubus from the Doom series, and the other to celebrate the upcoming Death Loop. There's a couple of cats fighting in a circle, and it says Cat Loop on it. But very much we're seeing QuakeCon still be Bethesda Con in a way. Do we see this Quake game at Quake this year, or do you think there are no new surprises this year, Mark, at Quake?
Man,
Starfield.
yeah, I can't really picture anything too brand new that we haven't seen or haven't heard of before. If anything, it might be more updates to things, or if something
To Fallout 76.
Yeah, or if anything is to be revealed, it was probably already a rumor before that we've heard about, or something like that.
Matt, how many times did they say Quake Champions at QuakeCon?
They say Quake twice, Champions once, but never together.
So when you say they say Quake, are you including how many times they say QuakeCon, or you're saying Quake on its own, not in the portmanteau of QuakeCon?
Yeah, because that might be a higher number.
Yeah.
No,
I feel like they would probably say welcome to QuakeCon more
that's
than a couple
one.
of times.
And then
Thanks for watching.
No.
That's
I think it's twice, and you include QuakeCon. One is welcome to QuakeCon, and we have exciting news in the world of Quake. You all know they won't say Quake Champions like they did that one year. Remember when they showed Quake Champions but never actually said Quake Champions?
Yeah.
They will say we have a new champion come into our beta.
To the beta, right.
That's where you get all your, or they say champions of the Quake tournament that they have.
Yeah, because if they say it together, it will never be the complete title, because halfway through Champions, someone might gag and maybe throw up. So,
Well, we'll see that August 19th through the 21st. Speaking of 21, Matt, you've been playing some FIFA 21, specifically the Xbox Series X version. How is that? When was the last time you played a FIFA game?
18, because I owned it on PS4.
So how's this one stack up against that? Did you get your ultimate card team?
I mean, I loaded and they said, "Welcome to FIFA 21. Come see your starter pack and pick a athlete to be on your team, an ultimate team." And I hit dismiss and moved on to the be a pro mode. No, I've had this on the Series X for a while. Just I kind of I forgot I had it. 2, I've been playing other stuff. And 3, Superliminal did not take nearly as long as I thought it was going to take, so I had some spare time yesterday, and I wanted to do something new, so I remembered this. I was not planning on talking about this. I mean, it's FIFA. Core gameplay hasn't changed in FIFA in forever. It's a soccer game, simulation-based, pretty good simulation-based soccer game. Has all the licenses, looks pretty, but I want to talk about how pretty this game looks. I could probably legitimately fool people with the regular broadcast view if they did not realize I was playing FIFA.
Wow.
It does look incredible. There's one little small performance hitch, and actually MLB The Show does it as well. When you transition from cutscene back to gameplay, there is a tiny, I don't know if it's a stutter in the frame delivery or there's a drop in frames for like 2 seconds until it gets back up to 60. That will probably be the only time you can realize that it is a video game, because otherwise it looks spectacular. And I can't say that, like, even the cutscenes, like the cutscenes when you zoom in on the players definitely looks a little bit more video gaming, but still like incredible detail on the players and stuff like that. Yeah.
Does the ball have ray tracing?
I don't know if that's ray tracing. Does EA support ray tracing yet?
I don't know.
I guess Battlefield would. No, they do. Battlefield 1 has it. So the Frostbite engine does. I don't know. Does this run on Frostbite? I don't even know.
Everything does, doesn't it?
Whatever.
Except for the Respawn games.
Yeah. Yeah, they run on Source, don't they? Yeah, no, this game looks really good. I have seen a little bit the EA, I'll say this in quotes, laziness. The Be a Pro mode that I'm doing, I truly believe I am looking at the same menu layout and options as I did in FIFA 18 when I played it for a few hours. So there's that going for you.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I'm sure there's been gameplay improvements. It's been so long since I played it, all kind of feels new in a way. But I'm sure there's been some improvements there. I'm decent at this game. I had to bump up the difficulty. I thought it was gonna be bad. So if you've played FIFA, like it's still kind of the core part of it. It's the same. So you got that going for you. But no, this game looks absolutely incredible.
Do you feel like there's a consistency between their sports offerings in terms of, like, do they all kind of have the same presentation package or like level of you see that this year in particular they changed up their graphic design on like the box, right? Like kind of like signifying how all of the EA Sports titles look. And do you feel that kind of same sense? Because you've played a few of these now in the last year between now FIFA, but NHL. Did you play Madden last year as well?
Yeah, 21.
Right. So like, is there kind of a through line, the connective tissue for these, or do they still just feel like the same old?
They do chase. Like in-game presentation, they chase for the authentic arenas, and like just like looking aesthetic of what that would look like in real life if you saw it. Like, in NHL, seeing all the ice scrapes, and I assume that when they do the next gen one, like seeing like the little shards, like the little snow from the ice when you stop. I think that's going to be something you start seeing, and how you see the scrapes in the ice with even more detail, and how probably the increased memory in these consoles can keep the scratches, and maybe even that impacts gameplay, because in real life, bad ice towards the end of the period affects your passing and things like that. So like, they do pay attention to that, and FIFA, like how the lights from the stadium reflect off visors and things like that. Like they truly do pay attention to those kinds of details. I just wish they paid that much attention to detail to some of the gameplay stuff that they put out. And this game does it no different. It's a little weird because they say like EA Sports Network, because when I'm playing, they're like, and also in the MLS this week is San Jose versus LA, and they're saying like, and check that out on EA TV, and it's like they clearly want to say like ESPN or NBC or something, but they can't because they don't have the rights.
Yeah.
That's like the one little thing that if they said NBC, I would be like all in. Like this feels like a actual soccer game I'm watching and not necessarily playing. But yeah, I mean,
final question:
they chase that stuff though.
Can you play as the Baltimore Blast?
They do not have indoor soccer. Just MLS and all the other accompanying, all the other leagues in Europe and wherever around the world. I think.
Can you make the Baltimore Blast? Can you customize your own team?
I'm sure you can, but you get into issues because indoor soccer has less players on the roster.
I don't know any of the differences. I just know that
indoor and outdoor, that's the big difference. Smaller pitches.
No, this isn't baseball. All right, our final news story for the week. Atlus has opened the Persona series 25th anniversary website, which teases 7 projects to be announced between September 21st and September 2021 and fall 2022. We're going to close out the show. What are these 7 projects? When do we expect them? And which one will be OP and have Matt complaining next week?
Did they buy the Syndicate license?
Not that I know of.
Damn. All right, so Syndicate Mobile is not one of them.
No. I could tell you, I think one of these is their Project Re-Fantasy. They had a thing where basically the Persona team was spinning off and making another game that is a fantasy-based, kind of similar, but it's going to be more like medieval. Like I think they're doing a Fire Emblem Persona game in a way. Not in that, not like they did with the, yeah. What else do we think this is? Do we think Persona 6?
It's more than likely.
That's a stretch. Oh, that's a stretch. I mean, it's
I got
gonna
a
just
more than
be
likely,
a logo.
and I got a that's a stretch.
It would be a logo.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like
no, I'm not saying released.
A huge
I'm saying
reveal.
No, I'm not saying
this
released either. I don't know.
No, these are just their announcements. Do you think that there's room for them to make this fantasy game and Persona 6?
I'm not saying that.
I mean, depends on if they have like teams, dedicated to different projects.
Do we think that somewhere between September and fall 2022, Atlus will say Persona 6?
Could. I think it's possible.
I'm locking it in.
Sorry, I misread this whole thing. I thought this was a event where they announced 7 things, and they just didn't know the date of it yet. Sorry.
No, they're just saying that for a year they're going to make 7 different announcements.
Yeah, you'll see Persona 6 because it will be at E3 or something.
All right, so it's the 25th anniversary. I feel like that means that the original game will be ported
to PC
in some fashion. PC seems very likely for them to bring all of the Persona games right to Steam. I think we might finally see Persona games come to Switch. So I'm just going to put Persona ports.
If there isn't a Persona 5 Royal on Steam, I don't know what to do. I'm just never going to play those games, I guess, because to have the sequel on there and not the first one, like, just come on.
But I think those Persona ports, I think they're going to end up counting, like, each one is going to count as a thing.
As an announcement?
Royal, like Royal coming to Switch.
Steam
or whatever, like that. I mean, that's a porting project, but like, so that would be one thing. I think Persona 1 coming to PC, or I think that is like another project.
I think you're not wrong, but let's have fun.
Don't they have a fighting series?
I was going to say, so I think we're going to get a new P5 Arena.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't follow that series at all. Are we due for another one? Yeah,
P4 Arena took all the 4 and 3 and some other characters, kind of put them all in one thing. So I think we could do a Persona 5 one.
What do you think a DLC for that Strikers? Is that what it's called? Persona 5?
Strikers, yeah.
Yeah, I think a DLC for
Strikers
that.
is what it was here. Scramble is what it was in Japan, right? Something like that.
Whatever that game is called, wherever you live. I think you get a DLC project of some kind. It might not be like a single player thing. It might be like a dumb arena beat 'em up kind of tower challenge thing, but something there.
I'm gonna put because the same team is doing Hyrule Warriors, and if it did as well or close to as well, then yeah. So let's do Persona Strikers DLC. We got 2 more. I'm thinking we get a card game of some kind.
Oh no, I'm done. I'm tapping out because I think 3 of those projects are the ports.
I think we get a.
And here are my predictions on the ports. Here we go. So that way they're there. 1 comes to places, probably PC, maybe Switch. 5, I guess the Royal Edition or whatever, comes to Switch. And is it not on Steam yet, you said?
It's not on Steam. It's not on Xbox. I think it comes to Xbox finally.
Yeah, it comes to all the appropriate places. Golden comes to Switch. That's my 3rd. Persona 4 Golden comes to Switch.
Yeah.
I'm going to think something a little smaller with, like, merchandise and some kind of, like, music project or something, or if it's still music related, maybe, I mean, probably not likely, but I think it'd be cool if they did some type of, like, rhythm game, whether it's for, like, mobile or something like that. Something casual.
No, you nailed the last 2, Mark. We're getting another rhythm game. We're getting merch. Merch and rhythm, because they have like multiple rhythm games. There is a Persona 5 rhythm game already, but I think that they could do a sequel. They could, there it is. All right, we'll keep track of this. We'll find out how correct we were over the course of 2022. Another thing for us to check in on.
Oh, Matt complaining next week. It's going to be merch because merch isn't a project. You just sell it.
That's what I was thinking, like a music thing of some kind, because maybe there's like a remix album.
That is a project,
or like
that Sonic concert thing. Organized.
Yeah,
that is a project.
That's what I'm thinking, something like that. Like a live album would be amazing.
You made a collection, not a project.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let me see.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's projects that they're announcing.
Yeah, some of them are probably so far out they won't even.
Persona 6.
Yeah, they're not gonna have any like windows or anything. It's just probably just a logo.
You're gonna see a logo, and it's not even gonna be the final logo. It's gonna be working art.
I think when they announce Persona 6, it's going to be a tease, but it's only going to show the main character, and it's going to be an animated clip for like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
it's going to be
it's going to be up close.
It's going to be the Elder Scrolls 6 announcement where we saw a little cinematic, a logo, and we haven't seen that game for like 4 years now.
Get used to that.
Hell, we barely saw Starfield.
I might buy a bag for $20. Anyway, you can check all that out. There is some merch already, so maybe we're
Ooh, Persona Sonic crossover. Personic.
I'm very good with that. Very, very, very good with that. Personic the Hedgehog. That's good. All right. Yeah. I got some binging to do. We'll be back next week with another episode. If you like this one, you can check out all the other ones we've got on thefreecheese.com. We've had some good ones through the years, I tell you what. You can follow us on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at SomeFreeCheese. Mark is at Og_Mental. Matt is at MattyIce131. Podcast at thefreecheese.com is the email address. What are you guys getting into this week?
I'm definitely going to. I mean, I didn't do it because when it released, I didn't get it on that day, but I do owe some time with Skyward Sword.
Oh, did you pick it up? Or you didn't?
I haven't picked it up yet, but I did order the Joy-Cons and the Amiibo. So
I saw the Amiibo got delayed. Did the Joy-Con ship?
Joy-Cons will be arriving the day after this airs.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of forgot that came out despite the emails and stuff that I.
Wait, I'm wrong. It'll be arriving next Thursday.
Oh wow, okay.
22nd.
Yeah, you have to keep us posted on that game. I'm curious to see how that one shakes out. It seems like they cleaned up a lot of that one. So, yeah. Matt, any plans for the week?
I'm gonna keep this FIFA train alive. It might die today. It might die tomorrow. It might die 2 weeks from now. I don't know, but we're gonna keep that train alive. But in turning on my Xbox, there's a game I've been neglecting that I kind of forgot about that I need to get back to, and that game is called Nier. I feel like I should maybe play that game some. And every time I attempt to play Shin Megami Tensei, I make great progress, and then something brutally bad happens to my character where I die in a terrible fucking situation so far away from a save point that I hate myself. So that's why I hardly talk about that game. But I'm making progress in Shin Megami Tensei as well.
Yeah, I picked that up this week. It was on sale at the beginning of the week, so I grabbed it and I'm making my way through it. What did I do? I'm fighting the troll outside of Loki's room in the Nick's bar.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick's Lounge. So, moving along. I got to meet the mannequins. They're fun. They're a lot of weird, creepy. Yeah.
They'll be around.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, outside of that, I'm waiting on a From Software game to go on sale on Xbox, and I don't know. Pokemon Unite is out this week, so I'm going to check that out. I'm gonna maybe Final Fantasy 14, although that seems like a commitment that I'm not ready to make. But Snatcher seems like a way of the future, so we'll see what we get. That is it for us. Until next week, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.